we are all going to die. The moment we die, 5 years later, nobody's even going to bother.
People often say they are fine when they are not fine.
I had this one thing that I did not ever stop researching. Okay, so I kept my research going on.
I don't understand why a curse word, when said by whoever, affects us so much.
A friend is someone externally. Internally, I am at peace with myself. I am not at war with myself.
I have seen this, that a lot of people are not even close to their own selves. Most of the times it comes to self-doubt, not trusting ourselves, right?
The world around me is what forms my opinions and what forms my feelings.
85-year-old Lakil telling 29-year-old Lakil, how can you be better so that at 85 you are better than I am?
Does recognition matter?
Okay, so I'm basically Lakshya Mittal. I am the founder of Awaaz. Somewhere I feel the world is at a very crucial stage with mental health. And I am the one I think possibly would change the direction of what's coming.
I think mental health is such a serious topic, such a heavy topic that I was like, I have to cut the tension first. So I focused on what's the one thing we can do. Shit on you, what are you saying? Making it the number one reason why a lot of people say we have mental problems.
Oh, dude, like, I'll be honest. So
mental health problems, not mental problems. Sorry.
Well, see, that's something that's subjective to everyone. If I have, let's take ADHD, you might see it as a mental health problem. I might see it as a mental problem.
See, dude, if I'm talking about myself,
yeah,
I say mental health, that's up to me.
Right.
The moment I start talking about you, that's the problem.
Correct. That's the problem. Right. Yes. But I'll tell you what. So I spoke to a good bunch of people in the recent, let's say, 2 months, 3 months, specifically about this topic. And when I see them, when I speak to them, in the next 5-10 minutes, they possibly start crying because of things that they might have felt in the recent past, right? Or somewhere down their whole journey. And that's where I feel it's quite a thing where people do not have a tendency to let it out, okay? Because they feel that it's easier to keep it to themselves.
For sure. I think not letting it out is a massive issue. And I think you have to have that one person or that one activity that allows you to let it out. I know for me, there's often times I just go to the golf course or go to the range, hit some balls. I think that just physical activity, exerting yourself and just being able to hit something as hard as you possibly want to. And, you're not really harming anyone, but you might end up pulling a muscle or something like that.
I totally agree to that, because that's where, we have that inner instinct that, okay? But 99% of us do not have that privilege to break things, correct?
Dude, I've punched my pillow, I don't know how many times.
I'll tell you what. So have you seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine? So there is this one episode where Diaz, like Rosa, she basically she wants to actually kill Melanie Hawkins, okay? And she actually can't because she's in jail prison, right? That's why she imagines this whole world where she breaks the window, comes out, and just, beats the shit out of her.
And in very vivid detail.
Very vivid detail, right? And that is where I feel that is one another way of, let's say, possibly letting it out.
See, I think everyone has their own way. And we have to all find our own way. I'm not saying I'm right or you're right.
No,
Rosa Diaz is right. But at the same time, the thing is, at the end of the day, as long as you're feeling that frustration out of your head, see, I know I can speak personally,
right?
I am a kind of person where things affect me short term more than they do long term. In that, if I'm very angry at something or I'm feeling something very strongly, it'll all sort of come out and then it's just, okay, then I'm out of it. Okay. Like if I can let it out at that moment, I'm just, like, it helps me get through it.
No, definitely. That's one of the most important things of letting. Like if you have that, if you just take that one step to, let's take let out whatever emotion that you're holding, let be happy, sad, things like that. I spoke to this one psychiatrist recently, and she says that 99% of problems that people have is not money, it's relationships. Possibly one is themselves, then with people around them, and definitely it goes up. But yeah, and that's when, people do not have a tendency to be fully happy as well. Like there are times where people are not totally happy as well. Even if they're laughing, there's something within them that gives them, like taken aback, or keeps them at a place where they do not want to be fully happy. Yeah.
Laksh, I want more clarity on what exactly you do. Right now, we are in the vague territory of I speak to people and they cry. So let's explore that a little further. Let's define your work a little more.
Right. Why not? So I started very early, around the age of 17, and I did not have a thing that I would be entering entrepreneurship. Okay. It just happened by mistake. It started with a very simple um, conference that was happening in school, and I just was like at a very leadership position where I had the authority to choose things, make things happen. I was responsible for dealing with vendors, things like that. So that's where I think I learned the first step in entrepreneurship, that's sales. Okay, talking to, let's say, local vendors and things like that. Okay, so that's when it started, and actually, um, the idea of Awaaz actually came during that period only, because I had a realization that a lot of people usually just came to me, spoke their heart out, trusting me without even thinking anything at all. And somewhere they felt that I was a person who could give them a solution. And this is something which I realized back then, and I didn't know what to do, seriously. So I had this mad scientist dream that I wanted to alter brainwaves. Okay. And I started with researching on how can I do it. So the story goes back where when I was in 8th standard then, where I was a person who loves music, and I used to listen to radio all night. So there was this show that started at 9 o'clock, Praveen ka show. It's very common in Kolkata. And then at 11 o'clock, there was Masala Nights with Dave, which went on till 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I used to listen like to music all day long. And I realized that music actually changes the way it affects our brain and ourselves. So you must agree to this, that if I play, let's take a rock, upbeat music, you'd have like, let's take an instinct within you that you want to dance, you want to, let's take a little, you want to feel more energetic. And that's where if I switch it to a very folky, calm music, okay, let's take nature's voice or, things like that, you'll be very poised, you'll become very peaceful. You'll want to sit down, have a cup of tea, things like that. So definitely music changes the way, how we perceive things as well. And that is when I thought, can I use music to alter brainwaves? And there was actually a few companies who did it back then. So you won't believe this. Have you heard about Brian Johnson?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So his company 5 years, 6 years back was Kernel, where they were working on something related to neuroscience and, let's say, brain imaging and things like that. Okay. And what I did was, when I was researching, I found their company. I reached out to them that can I work with them?
And this is 8 standard.
Oh, 11 standard. Okay. 11 standard.
So like 16, 17-year-old.
17-year-old.
Damn.
Okay. And they denied, saying that I was quite early. Obviously, wee bit. So they denied that was there. But it's I didn't stop my research. I kept my research going on, and I had to keep it at a halt when I came to college, because when I went to pitching competitions, things like that, people were interested in the idea, but the problem was we cannot do human experimentation in India, right? So there are companies who are currently doing it, but what they're doing is they're only analyzing what's going on in the brain. They're not changing what's happening with the brain. And I wanted to change, the brain waves, like alter brain waves. So that is where I had to keep it on a hold, where I did not pursue it as an idea, but I kept on researching on it. Okay. And parallelly, during my beginning of the second semester of the first year, um, I was just sitting in my hostel playing FIFA. So I was a FIFA fan. FIFA 14 is like,
Was?
I haven't played it in like a year or so. So that is when, uh,
Akhil and I have a long history with FIFA.
okay.
We sort of got introduced to each other through FIFA to some extent. I was FIFA, cricket, football, sort of mixture of all the three. Because Akhil's roommate was a big time FIFA player.
Okay.
And he used to play a lot of FIFA, the whole ultimate team and the tournaments and everything like that. I was one of those who was like, just five of us sitting, you all want to play, we can play.
Okay.
That was my level of FIFA. And it got to the extent where there was one weekend, thanks to Akhil's roommate, it was five of us, 4 PlayStations, connected to 4 different monitors, with 4 different ultimate teams playing the same ultimate team weekend league. And we must have spent about 8 or 10 hours rotating between each other's teams, each other's leagues, and just like
Correct.
having pizza and playing FIFA the entire day.
Wow. And when was this?
So it was, I think, what, third year or fourth year of college?
Like 2016, 17, sometime then.
Yeah, I guess somewhere, there are games which connect people a lot, right? So I used to play FIFA all day long. And I was in a 6-bed sharing room in my hostel, 6-bed dorm. And in my room, everyone was a studio staff. Like 24/7 on Sundays even, they would study.
Sounds like a fun college to be in.
Sounds like a fun dorm room to be in.
Fun dorm room. Happening.
I mean, I was fine with everyone. Everyone was like really great. Okay. Really netful, everything. That's fine.
Hashtag all of Lakshya's roommates. This is his attempt to save his comment now.
Right? Maybe that's like, no, but yeah, definitely. They were always like a very helpful. No, I'll be very honest around that. So, very good people as well. It's just that I was a person who used to play FIFA all day long. But at the end of first year, when our results came and the rank came, I was the highest ranking in the whole room.
We have ourselves Ranchordas Chanchad.
Oh, no, not really. So, there were factors that brought to it, but yeah, still. So, see, in my university, there were like around, in my batch, around 5 to 8K people. Okay. And my rank was around 128. Okay. And in my branch, I was like third or fourth, something like that. So that's a different thing. But the contrary is, I used to study only one day before the exam. They used to study all, like, let's take the whole month, the whole year. And at the end, when the result came, I was like, they were shocked more than. So that was so during that semester, around second semester only, we have this huge event in a tech event in our college. Okay. And there's this one good friend of mine who was not my roommate. He came to me and he was like, I have registered us in a startup event or something. And back then I didn't even know like how to start up or anything. So, okay. And it was a one night, like all-nighter event. So it was supposed to start at 9 o'clock in the night and it was supposed to end at 9 a.m. in the morning, something like that.
Like a hackathon kind of a thing.
Yeah, kind of, but a startup related hackathon, like business hackathon or something. And I was like, okay. So we all went there and we were like, we have to think of a night. I'm like, okay. So when I was playing FIFA, I got this YouTube notification that this man won a golden buzzer after 10 years of his struggle or something like that. Okay. And that is what struck me, that performing artists usually do not get the stage where they can actually showcase their real talent. Right. And that we took that idea and we went with that. Coincidentally, we won special mention in the conference or the hackathon. And okay, after that, everything just suspended. Like none of the teammates wanted to continue with it or things like that. And I also was like, ठीक है, college का पढ़ाई वगैरह चल रहा है, and we just continue with that. Okay. Next year, during August, so it was my friend's birthday and we were smoking up. Okay. And everyone was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So most of my friends here in Kolkata, like we have like a friendship almost like 18, 19 years now. Okay. And they were like, so most of them run their own family businesses. Okay. So everyone was saying that we did this, I did that. Okay. And I had like, what did I do? So I, out of this, like just a curiosity or let's say out of desperation, I said that I am wanting to start a startup with performing artists or things like that. And that is the day when I thought that I'll start a startup. And I ran that startup for almost 3 years. But at the end of COVID, we had like everything shutting down, things like that. So we had to shut down operations totally. So that is how that continued. And while I was almost at the stage of shutting down my second startup, okay, I like there is a company based out of US, a startup. Okay, they reached out to me and they were like, "Why don't you join us?" I was like, "Okay, ये भी देख लेते करके." So I could, and I went with that. I started as an intern, and 6 months down the line, I was leading the whole non-technical business development side of that and partnerships. So that went there, and 2 years down the road, now like basically I'm at a place where I've had a decent amount of let's say experience, and whatever I've learned through my mistakes, now I'm like solving those issues and restarting my first startup that was Awaaz. That's how my journey went.
So basically, you got fulfilled
Can say
in a way of
anyway.
where there was something which you were passionate about since the eighth grade.
Yes, yes,
Were passionate about it pretty much all through school from the looks of it.
correct.
And things didn't particularly pan out because of
Various
regulations which were out of your hand.
right.
And you're back to it with all the experience you get, which is quite interesting. I mean, I think that's the thing with passion, I guess. It
So-
never
I had this one thing that I did not ever stop researching. Okay, so I kept my research going on. And you wouldn't know, 3 years back, I found that the same concept that I was trying to use to alter brainwaves was there in an ancient yogic text. And that's where the whole change came, the cycle that you're talking about came into play again.
So I want to get into this altering brainwaves.
Okay,
What the hell is altering brainwaves? Let's first go with brainwaves,
okay,
and then we can get to the altering part.
okay. So brainwaves, it's basically, let's say, we have cells and things like that in our body. And a similar way, our brain has neurons. Okay. And when they, like, let's say, communicate with each other, okay, there are synapses that happen in between. Let's take, I give you a phone call. Okay. So there is a transaction happening. There's a, let's take a movement happening.
Yeah.
So this movement across a lot of, let's take neurons, makes neural pathways, which then turns into brain waves and things like that, which are detective. So basically, an external device can detect brain waves. So brain waves is almost like, let's take electromagnetic waves, okay, but that runs through neurons. So that's brain waves. So how did we go on to alter brain waves? So like I said, the music thing, right? So
I think more than how did you go on to altering brainwaves? What is altering brainwaves?
altering brain waves is basically changing the way the state of mind of a person is. I'll give you a simple example. If a person, X person comes to you and he shouts at you and says XYZ words in a very loud, uncomfortable voice. But if the same words are spoken by, let's take a Y person in a very soft spoken voice, you won't feel that bad, right? Why does that happen? Because the way the vibrations enter your brain or your brain perceives it is different in both cases, correct? So if something like, let's say the input is different, the output, your reaction is also different, correct? So that is where this brain state changes if the perceived, let's take vibration is different, right? So altering brainwaves is basically like we can change the state of mind, okay, just through, let's say, external or internal stimuli. Stimuli can be light, sound, or things like that. That is simply altering brainwaves.
Laksh, I am not very sold on the concept. I am a very cynical man, and you know, I feel that sometimes lack of knowledge about things make you cynical about them. Like myself, right? I do not have research over brainwaves. I do not know of their existence, and I do not understand if if the electromagnetic transaction that is happening between neurons, of course, they do leave out electromagnetic waves, which can be measured by an external device. But that being coincided with what kind of feelings do you have, what kind of things that you think of, what kind of images your brain produces, I feel the research is very inadequate rather than conclusive. So I kind of want to dive in on that. I can understand the feelings part of it. I can understand the part that, you know what, somebody shouts at you, you feel aggressive. Or somebody says something nicely and you feel nice. That's all good. And I think it is an active problem with the world that people are basing everything on their perception. And there's this topic of discussion that if someone abuses you in a native language or in another language that you do not understand, you will not care. But when you start understanding stuff, that's when emotions pop in, and that's when, the break happens where you like click and you're out of it. So let's discuss this research and its conclusiveness a little bit more. How conclusive is it that that is the exact thing that affects it? And then let's dive into the whole depression aspect of why people are falling in this depression and highly aggressive state in the current world. Why is it changing so drastically?
Look, I think also just to carry on that, if someone swears at you in any language, what the hell does that matter? I don't understand why a curse word, by when said by whoever, affects us so much. Today, a stranger comes and curses at you, it doesn't matter as much. Whereas if someone you know closely curses at you, suddenly that affects a lot. Perception again changes. My thing is deeper. Why the hell are we so affected by a word someone uses to address us? Because that's not defining our identity. That's not changing who we are. So basically, I'll tell you what I've understood. People try to take things a lot personally than not taking it at all, right? Even if, let's take an unknown guy comes and shouts at them, they take it personally because they think he's saying it to them because of their, let's say, his own insecurities. Okay, and that starts, I don't know when, for some people it starts when they're in childhood, some starts with time. And talking about, I'll take, I'll start with my research part, okay, and then I'll go to the depression part as well, okay. So my focus of research was always around using sound to alter the brains, okay. So as I understood that if a different kind of a vibration that comes from, let's take an external speaker or anything like that, if it can have, like if it has the power to change the way I can feel about it, okay, definitely changes the way my whole body possibly might, let's take, live with it, okay. So recently I have tried in the last 3-4 months as well, like if I am mantra chanting or, listening to any kind of, let's take, spiritual music, or if I'm, let's take, walking around in nature or things like that, when I'm listening to, let's say, water flowing, birds chirping, things like that. These things have brought like a very different part of mine in front of me. Okay. So it's basically like it has made me more peaceful, more calm. It makes me think differently. Okay. And I feel myself more. Okay. And that's when if I go to a very noisy street or things like that, possibly things turn out to in a way where I get a little frustrated or things like that. So it's not a regular cycle, but I guess it's normal for everyone. And my research started with that particular thing, that if sound can actually change things, let's say outside, it can possibly change within as well. And that is when I went through it in a way where I was researching what kind of sounds can lead to what kind of aesthetic states of mind. So if you listen to, let's take, the Om vibration at 432 hertz for quite a while, and there are various other sounds, like let's take, there is something called as Yog Nidra. So Yog Nidra is a type of meditation, a deep sleep meditation. So if you listen to it gradually, as like it's a 42 minute meditation, and if you listen to it, you will possibly, while listening to it, you'll go into a good, let's say, deep sleep. Why is that? Because how does it work? Let's take, there are vibrations that are coming out from, let's take the earphones that we are listening to or something like that, and there are, let's take, brainwaves that are working in their own direction. Okay, with time, both starts to resonate. So we have done that tuning fork experiment when we were kids, right?
Like if I, let's say strike 40 hertz here, 40 hertz there, it would, let's say the other 40 hertz tuning fork would also, start to resonate. So in a simple pattern, similar, let's take analogy, our brain starts to resonate with that particular vibration. And then we enter the theta phase and things like that. Then we enter the sleep cycle. So that is where the whole research part comes in. Okay, so there are different kinds of mistake vibrations who can affect or mistake change the way or alter brainwaves. Coming to the whole depression part that you actually asked, right? What I have seen is that with age, there are lots of insecurities and things we start to take personally. I'll speak for myself. So I've had it like a childhood where everything was great, decently fine, not a problem. But there was always a thing that I am not that good looking, or I'm not that X, I'm not that Y. There have been, phases where uh, people think about it. Why? Because there are others who might say things about you in a different way, right? And since, let's say, I don't think we have been ever taught since we were like, let's say, growing up in our ages, that how do we perceive things? If someone is saying this in an X way, is it a good way to take it or is it a bad way to take it? Okay. And is the intention also good or not? Right. So that is something which was not taught possibly. And with that, insecurities try to pulp it. And what I've seen is people start to get alone in themselves, although they have people around them. So even if you have friends and family around you, you start thinking that you're alone, you don't have anyone. And a lot of it is because of things that we say to ourselves. So many times you have seen people, you must have seen, okay, people say to themselves that, "Yaar, mera to koi nahi hai. I don't have anyone. I have like this, I have that." So the thing is that you're constantly saying it to yourself. So which time your mind, your body has started to accept it that, yes, this is not good for you. This is not you. You don't have this. You are in a lack of this. So in that sense, we have started to make ourselves a little alone with time. And that's what leads to depression. I'll give you a simple experiment, okay? I'll ask you one question. Who are the top 3 friends of yours?
Okay, Vishruth, Dinesh Gajwani, and Pranjal Shah.
Okay. And what's with you, Vishnu? Okay, one. Okay. And to think about this. Let's think people you love. Let's say top 3 people you love.
I'd say Akhil, Yash Patodia, and Yasha Tadia. 3 people.
Okay. I'll ask you a second question. Why didn't you guys take your name first? Are you not friends to yourself, or do you not love yourselves?
I think that is, I don't agree with that experiment because
I have a issue with that.
friend is an external stimuli, right? A friend is someone externally. Internally, I am at peace with myself. I am not at war with myself.
You're at peace with yourself. That's fine. But have you ever treated yourself as a friend?
Absolutely, yes. I tell myself that every day. I, in fact, have a practice where I write notes to myself. I talk to myself and try to discover myself even more, right? So that is, I know people do lack that kind of a stimulus in their life, but a friend is external. I feel a friend is not as strong a relationship as you can have with yourself.
So I think this again, perception.
Right. Perception. Right.
You hear the word friend, and it always gives you an external way of looking at things. Oftentimes, when you say, "Oh, you are your own friend," you use the word as introspection or self-reflection, those kind of terms. So you don't associate the term friend with yourself necessarily, even though you might be doing activities like, you're speaking to yourself in a positive manner, you're, doing things that motivate yourself, or if you're frustrating yourself, or you're admonishing yourself as well.
Correct.
Like, I know I do this where, especially when I'm playing a sport or something like that, and you make a stupid mistake, I will yell at myself. Like, Vishwat, how can you be so stupid? And that can be for very simple things. And like, in the heat of the moment, you're playing something or whatever. It's a very normal thing.
Correct.
And at the same time, also work the other way around.
If your question is who are your top 3 friends, if we expand on the definition of what do you mean by a friend, right? If your definition of a friend is who are the top three people who know you the best, who are the top three people you would do anything for, who are the top three people you said to gain most things from, whatever the definition of a friend may be, whatever that transaction is. If the transaction is who is the person who knows you best, that would be like the 85-year-old me. When I'm 85, 90, that person knows me better than I know myself right now. And that person has the right to tell me what I should be doing now in order to be better than that person will be then, right? So, very different question. Who knows you best? That is more a definition. A friend is pre-packaged set of expectations that we have posed onto society for an external person to be a part of my life. So that's at least my view on it. It does not need to be everybody's view.
No, definitely. See, but the thing is, I've seen this, that a lot of people are not even close to their own selves. It's because of a lot of insecure things, a lot of realistic questions that they pose on themselves. Most of the times, it comes through self-doubt, not trusting ourselves, right? So, the question definitely, okay, it might, like have an answer differently for different people. Okay, and I agree to the external part. Definitely, like you might pose a different kind of, let's take a relationship with a person who you treat as a friend, right? But what I have also even seen, that if we start treating ourselves also as a friend, what I have seen, there's a different way how we start looking ourselves as well. Because then you start to point out your own wrongs, your own rights. Because you can tell a friend that, yaar, ye to galat kar raha hai, correct? But you sometimes you do not say to yourself that, yet I am doing it wrong, because we think that we are right in our own ways. That is when that friend thing kicks in, that let's say alters a state of brain kicks in, where you need to talk to your own self and treat yourself as a friend. So that's where, like I had the direction with.
So I'm going to bring in the Bhagavad Gita here because I end up reading it a lot and it makes a lot of difference to me. So it says something very simple, focus on yourself, right? Don't be balanced. Understand what is driving your own thoughts. It's very simple. It's anytime you look at anything that it's trying to say, the verse is very simple. It says you're so good at looking at things externally. You take an example of a camera. A camera can take a picture of everything around it for itself. So it's just that we as human beings have reached such a point that we are seeing everything around us but within. And that's just the way it is. And that's the way we're brought up. And that's the way we're... In fact, I'm going to go back to another thing which you started with, or which we touched upon in the beginning, where you said that people often say they are fine when they're not fine. So I had this acquaintance who I bumped into at a party. And, the usual, hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Right. So she pointed out, she's like, so I responded saying, I'm great. How are you? She's like, are you actually great? Or are you just saying it? And I was like, no, I'm really things are good. I'm genuinely loving what I'm doing. And she's like, I'm so happy to hear that. A lot of people are not going through that right now. And I, at some levels, fail to understand why we are struggling with that, or why we are not addressing it. Today, if I'm not okay, and you're asking me, hey dude, how's it going? You're like, why am I telling you it's going good? It's basically what I've seen. We don't want to put out our emotions because we're scared the other will not understand it. That's first. And the second is we'll get hurt. Because we're already in a place where we are hurt. We don't want to get more hurt. That's where we stop expressing ourselves. Right? And many a times, okay, those emotions just keep packing up in our, let's say, heart inside of us. And you won't believe this. We spoke about the, part where people aren't happy fully, right? It's because there are some packed emotions of, let's take guilt, let's take sadness, loneliness, anything around that, okay, that have yet not been unpacked. Okay. And I think the longer they're not unpacked, they compound. It's like a virus. Keep festering, and just gets to a point where it overtakes you. It engulfs you with everything that you do.
I want to expand on Vishrut's example of a camera. So it's an engineering problem. A camera can take its own photo. Just need to put a mirror in front of it. So let's talk about the mirror. What would be 5 ways for people to put a mirror in front of themselves and know themselves a little better, take their own photo, and whatever advice they give externally, take it actually for themselves and build a better life for themselves?
So I'll come back to one of the points initially. First, at some points in your life, maybe try treating yourself as a friend. Okay. Because that would give you a very broad view of what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. Okay. That is first, becoming a friend to yourself. Second is sitting around with people who you know you can trust. Your sick friends, family, anyone around that. Because they would not possibly want you to take the wrong steps, but they would definitely cheer you when you're doing the right things. Okay, that's second. The third one is possibly a way which very much relates with the friend part, the first one, but that's journaling as well, which you and I spoke about earlier, right? But in journaling as well, it's more first, like it's more to ask questions rather than just like writing it down what happened in the day. Okay, it's not like a MOM of the day, correct? It's not the minutes of the day. You have to just like ask questions. Okay, if I felt bad at this point because X said me this, why did I feel? Or if this thing that I saw while walking down the road and this made me happy, why did it make me happy? So this keeps the mirror in front of us that, okay, these are things that I like. These are things that I do not like. That's there. Fourth, see things around you. Okay. Similar way, like in the third point. So what are the things that possibly make you feel good? So let's take if a ex person walking down the road is giving, let's say, a beggar some food to eat. Okay, is that making you feel good? Okay, or if someone just walked past through that person and did not even care about it, is that making you feel okayish? So learning how you react to different things, different emotions, different situations is another way of looking at things. And fifth way, what I have seen is many a times connecting to a higher energy. Possibly, it might not be anything religious. It's not necessary to have something religious, but it's easier to go religious because then you have something to let's take focus on. So possibly that, or sometimes in the spiritual space, like a lot of us say, connecting to your own higher self. So it's basically your own higher self is the person who is your true potential, and trying to connect with them and understanding your own thoughts, sitting with your own self. That would be the fifth way, I would say.
85-year-old Akhil telling 29-year-old Akhil, how can you be better so that at 85 you are better than I am?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what, Akhil. So I practice this one thing many days, many times. In my room, I just sit alone on my bed, everything shut, lights, fans, everything, all windows, doors, everything closed. It's like a proper blackout situation. And I just sit and I just look at the ceiling. I look at the fan for a while, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. You'll see thoughts are coming in continuously, continuously. Okay. And that's when I try to see what would I do if I were if I was at the same position 5 years ahead or before. And I try to question myself, what would a 17-year-old Lakshya do, or what would a 28-year-old? So 28-year-old Lakshya would possibly be a person who has, let's say, achieved XYZ things in life and knows XYZ things in life. Possibly has matured enough and learned, let's take 101 things rather than 51 as of now. So I try to see it in that way, and I have seen many a times it gives me a lot of answers. So yeah, that's one way to go.
Lakshya, I'm going to bring this back to a little more entrepreneurial. I think we've drifted into the spiritual. How do you make this a business?
Okay. So what I've seen this is not a scalable business. Why is that? Is because it's a very individualistic thing, because mental health or anything around that is very personal to everyone. And if you cater to a very big crowd at once, you're not possibly making that effect, impact, or change that you're wanting to. Correct? So definitely it is scalable, but if you see it in a different perspective. So like if you can touch, let's say, 1,000 lives, okay, then it's scalable. And it's a similar process like of how therapy or counseling works. Or there is a industry of coaching as well, where you life coach someone, when you, or let's say relationship coach. or things like that. So it can work on a per, let's take session criteria. There are businesses who do it in a very different way as well. If you go into the B2B sector of things, there are companies who work in the employee wellness or let's say employee assistant programs or things like that. Then you can act as an agency. Let's say I have 10, 50 people who are like me and I can give them, let's take to the company for any of their, let's take future requirements or things like that. There are various ways to go about it. Recently, with the advent of AI, what I've seen, there are companies who are trying to integrate a channel into that. Let's take if the company is on Discord or on Slack or anything like that, they'll integrate a channel where basically anyone from the agency or from the other end of the company is available to answer questions individually to that whole company, right? So that's also a way of going about it. And there are various things currently right now, like you see the Headspace app, okay, you see the Calm app. They give you, let's say, daily goals that you have to achieve, or let's say, set that up for yourself. And there are like music related things that you can hear on the Calm app, on the Headspace app. And a similar manner with the, let's say, advent of AI again, they're like therapist AI, like that would sit and talk to you and things like that. And then there are more various things like community circles, safe circles. Okay, actually, I guess there's one company, Now and Me, they're doing this safe circle things. Mind Peers is one of them, which recently came on Shark Tank, which started. So yeah, lots of things can be done. Okay, it's just how you want to, let's take this ahead, or you doing it. So I have a very dedicated approach of taking this ahead where, okay, so I started the main, let's take execution of this in the month of July, beginning of July. And what I did was, I had a phase where I wanted to spread awareness first, then I'll take to activation and then acquisition. Okay. So currently I'm in the third month of awareness, and I'll possibly take another month to make people aware of what I'm doing or on what I'm wanting to do. Okay. So in the mental health space as well, I've tried to niche myself down to transforming mental health through spiritual practices. And I've niched down more twice. So one, it's for founder specific or founder team specific. And the third part, the second part is basically Anahat Naad. Okay, Anahat Naad is basically a practice or a learning under the Naad Yoga, let's take yoga of sciences. Okay, which is basically yoga of sound or yoga of listening. Okay, so that is how I've niched it. So currently I'm like in the awareness stage. So what I'm doing is I'm making people aware of what I'm doing through being out there, through content is there, through partnerships, by taking workshops. Okay. And then personally, I take a lot of workshops, which are paid, let's say that's also there. There are group and team workshops. That is also there. Which time I'll be launching, let's take a book. Okay. So the book possibly that is coming would be around, so there are like various books that I have in mind. Okay. The one that I started to write is on how to sleep better through ancient learnings. Okay. So from different civilizations, okay, what have those taught on how to sleep better? So that is one. Then the other is on curing breathing. So I've had asthma since I was like, let's take born. So I know how difficult it is to breathe then. But after COVID, I've seen a lot of people suffering through it. Okay. And I somewhere feel possibly this could make them, give them knowledge of how to solve it. And everything is around ancient civilizations or sites that were ancient and things around that. And I also have, let's take a lot of products, like tech tools, which I'll be launching, which time. So I have like a proper dedicated, let's take a roadmap that 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, like this, I'll be launching stuff because I do not want to overwhelm people with what's going around, and I want to stick step-by-step approach in achieving things. So yeah.
I love the fact that you have a roadmap.
Yes.
I think again, to say something from the Bhagavad Gita, a very famous verse where you hear people saying, that focus on the journey. But I read a different interpretation of this, okay, where it says that it's not that you don't focus on the result. You chart your roadmap. You make your thing that, okay, I'm going to do this for X amount of time. I'm going to do this for X amount of time. And this is how I get from here to here. Once you do that proper planning, and once you start on this journey, that's when you don't keep thinking about this
Correct.
last point. So I love that you have that journey charted out and you're on that journey.
So I actually have reached one checkpoint of my journey, the awareness part. So recently I got recognized by LinkedIn as a top entrepreneurship voice, right? So yeah, definitely a lot of people ask me how it went, how did it happen, things like that. So it's basically consistency around that. But what I feel is consistency is bullshit. Consistency is like everyone can be consistent, but there is an effort, there is that hunger that takes to be persistent. So persistent is the key. It's basically like no matter what happens, no matter what it takes, you will show up every day doing the same thing. So definitely consistency is required, but the more powerful, let's take point of view to it is persistence.
Consistency plus hunger plus desire.
It's persistence. Exactly. That's it.
Laksh, does recognition matter to you? I I feel a lot of things that we feel, a lot of things that are built into us. For example, even my view on this is completely different from yours, which I think I hope it's fair.
It's fair. Yeah, it's fair.
Things that calm me down might not be the things that calm you down. Football calms me down. Football gives my mom anxiety. She's like, please stop watching this. The music that you talk about, the om chanting and the other music, that gives me anxiety, and it gives Vishruth calm. So when I listen to that music, it feels like nothing is happening. It is monotonous, and it is like it is consistently going in the same direction. And I need something new. Maybe my brain is built for more changes in stimulus than anything else. And then there is our friend Vidit, who will listen to absolute like shouting. And to me, it is shouting, but to him, it is melody. He listens to metal music and it really calms him down. So whenever he's in a bad headspace, he'll put on like, really loud shouting people, but calms him down completely. Not hard rock, it's metal. It's extreme metal, death metal. In my opinion, the world around me is what forms my opinions and what forms my feelings. If the world tells me this is calm and I'm supposed to feel calm, and if I tell that to myself enough times, I'll start feeling calm because the world has told me that. And if the world tells me this is good, put this in a bucket, this is bad, put this in a bucket, then those buckets become innate to my sense of existence, right? And the world is what defines it. Recognition is a bucket of the world. I get an award from LinkedIn is a recognition bucket from LinkedIn, which the world's attention is on LinkedIn, so I get that attention. If I don't get that attention, it might be very harmful to my being because I've worked so hard for that attention. Like Vishruth is talking about roadmaps. Roadmaps are awesome because me and Vishruth, we have a huge roadmap. We wish to build a huge founder network, connect them to each other. But we cannot have a timeline because that will bring anxiety. So, what I wish to know from you is to you, to Laksh, does recognition matter? If yes, why does
You
recognition
what?
matter?
Okay, yeah.
And if no,
Then why?
why does it not?
Okay. So yeah, recognition does matter to me to an extent. Okay. But I'll tell you the LinkedIn story first, and then I'll come to this. So I actually wasn't ever expecting that I would get it. Okay, because I was like, no, I have to just show up every day and post once. That is all. Okay, that is my goal. Okay, and out of nowhere on a Friday night, I just saw that okay, I have. So that actually gave me a sense of boost that okay, this is working out for me. What I'm doing is working. Correct. So it was like a let's say an assurance to me, ki yes, you're on the right let's say path, and the roadmap is working for you because I was just testing it out. That does it work? But coming back to let's take the recognition part, yes, it definitely matters to me uh, to an extent because somewhere I feel that it gives me it brings me to a place where I feel that I did that, let's take hustle, and somewhere it gave me, let's take, it put me at a pedestal where I can feel it, "Acha, haan, I've achieved." So in that context, if I see it, if you see how I, like if you see the analogy between the LinkedIn story and this part of me accepting recognition. So yeah, in that sense, yes, I am okay with accepting recognition. Yeah, and it's somewhere to an extent matters.
If you didn't get it, would it hurt you?
No, it would not, because I know something better than that would definitely happen with time. And even if that doesn't happen, I would know that I gave my best, right? So I'm okay with that. Yeah, definitely, I wouldn't deny that. I would feel that, okay, why I didn't get it, I would definitely question it. That would take me to, let's take a phase where definitely I would not feel too great about it, but I would not let it engulf me. Uh, and this is, I actually have tried to practice it with time. Okay. Uh, it did not, like, I was not so like understanding with myself as well on reacting to things. And with time, I've learned how to accept things, acknowledge things, and not let it affect me. So there are 3 A's that I follow with every emotion. One is acceptance, acknowledgement, and affecting. So how it works is you accept that the emotion exists. You acknowledge that, okay, it is there, but it will not harm me, okay, or it will not affect me. And the third is, yes, not letting it affect me. So 3 A's: accepting, acknowledging, affecting. That's how I see it.
I think I want to go back to the point that he made about stimuli and how different people react differently to stimuli. Yeah. Like he's saying, chanting, om, those things don't calm them down. They make him nervous. I want to address Akhil's part about stimuli and how different stimuli affects different people. Something may calm me down, whereas that thing that calms me down may not calm him down, may not calm you down. I feel a lot of times it's very dependent on your state of brain, or like, as you said, the brain waves that you are at when said stimuli comes to you. Like, I know if I'm just sitting in a quiet place and there's like om going on, like it can be extremely nerve-wracking to a certain extent, because you're like, what the hell is going on? Why is this like, I can understand where Akhil's coming from as well. And at the same time, there have been times where I have been extremely like, all over the place. Mind is in 20 different places. And heavy metal, because it's inundated me with so many things, so many other things of its own, it's just blanked out. So there is like, there's different stimuli. Like, I have used heavy metal to calm myself down. I have used home to calm myself down. And I have used also just silence and the sound of nature. So I think not even different people, I think for the same person.
Actually, in the research, we came across that the same music can affect you in a different way at different situations or different brain states, and to different people in a different way. So the whole holistic PNC around that is basically, it can affect anyone in different states. So it's basically how you take things. It's majorly around that. And many times we don't take things because we have a certain sense of an ego in ourselves that no, we would not accept. Okay. And that actually comes to the insecurities that we have piled up for ourselves.
That then goes to a whole different conversation, and ego, and let's leave ego as well.
No, I actually read this recently, so that's where, but yeah.
I think, we talk about male ego and we talk about ego in a very trivial manner, I think, at times. But I think our ego for each and every person, and I used it for myself more than anyone else, I think ego is where we all fall.
Yeah. I have seen that personally. I've been in situations. So yeah, I do not deny.
There's this fellow Alex Hormozy. We like to quote him a lot. We like to consume his content a lot. And he has a very nice definition for your ego and calming it down. We are all dead. We are all going to die. The moment we die, 5 years later, nobody's even gonna bother. Some people won't even bother, like the day of death. You will die. It's over. People move on with their lives. If it doesn't matter then, it doesn't matter now. If someone abusing me then and I'm not going to bother about it, doesn't matter now. So I feel getting comfortable with death becomes a good boost to understanding yourself and understanding your ego a little better, because it's not going to matter anyways, right? So why does it matter so much to me right now? It should not. So, Laksh, how do we find you? I am inspired by this episode. I want your services. I want to learn more from you. How do we find you and how do I go about it?
What I've done is, okay, so you guys don't know, my name got changed last year fully. Okay. So I was earlier Harshit Kavatia. Now I am Lakshya Mittal. Okay. So that's a whole new and different conversation.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What's the story there?
When I was a kid, I just had this inner urge to change my surname. That's all. Nothing else. Okay. And I just spoke to my grandmom that when I was 8 years or 9 years old, that I want to change. And she was like, okay. But I couldn't with time, because then I went to study in Plani boarding school in 11th and 12th grade. And then I went to South India for my engineering, things like that. So things did not turn up in my own way. But last year when I had the chance to actually change my name, so we went and we actually spoke to a Pandit. What should we do? Okay, so they were like, if you are wanting to change the surname, why don't you keep it with the name that starts with L or something like that? And he only suggested either go with the Laksh or something like that. And you won't believe the coincidence. So when I was a kid, I used to admire Lakshmipati Mittal. That's one. And the second coincidence is one of my favorite movies was Hrithik Roshan's Laksh. And when that name came in front of me, I was like, yeah, we can go ahead with that. So that's where my name changed to Lakshya Mittal. And like you asked me, if anyone has to find me, simply type Have a Laksh on any social media platform, you find me. Have a Laksh has a different story, but yeah.
We will get there as well. But why go to a Pandit?
I don't know, maybe I'm okay with that. I'm totally fine with that.
It's not about being okay with that. But is there a reason?
Yeah, there's a science behind it.
In the sense, like, is there something you believe in, or is this because of the way the family is, or what?
I also believe in, definitely. My family also definitely believes in it. So the science is called as Numerology. Okay. And it's basically how someone pronounces your name affects the way our surroundings also affect. So it's all around vibrations. Okay. And Laksh was the vibration that suits with my body type, or let's take with my date and numbers and things like that. Okay. My angel numbers, my psychic numbers, anything around that, right? So that's where somewhere I feel I was fine with going with that. And I actually read about that science. I experimented with my friends that this number goes with your, let's take this name. And so there are three kinds of numbers: name number, psyche number, angel number. There are various others. These three are quite generic and known to all, right? So that is where like the numerology thing also kicks in. So that is how the whole name change thing came into play.
Can you give us 30-second each of the numbers? Because
each of the numbers? Right.
Why give us 30 seconds on each of the numbers?
Yeah.
Because I know I don't know anything of what you just said. Angel number, psychic number, and whatever the third psyche number.
And name number.
Akhil, any ideas? Have you ever heard these terms before? They're like, yeah,
I have a very different opinion on astrology again. But let's define the numbers.
This isn't astrology though. This is numerology, which is vibrations and numbers.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand either, which is why I'm asking Lakshan if you had to explain to people who had, not simply, I think, who had no idea about it. You have to like literally go A for apple. Why is A makes the R sound? Like all that. You have to go that basic, because I don't know anything at all.
Okay, so I am not an expert, but I have a very decent knowledge around it. Everything is around numbers. And even each letter, each, let's say consonant, or, let's take alphabet has a pronunciation to it, has a sound to it, and has a number to it as well. Okay. I am not sure how it measures, but let's take let's take LAKSHYA. If I add it up, it comes, let's take, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Okay. Let's take, if I add Vishrut, then it comes to some certain number. What that number would say is basically your personality, your characteristics, things you might be good at doing, things you can pursue, how you react to things like that. Okay. So that is there. So that is like name number, as simple as that. Psyche number is basically your date of birth. Okay. So let's take, I am a 7 born person. Okay. So 07. Okay. So that is how it works. Let's say if you're a 28 born person, so you have to do 2 plus 8, that's 10. Then again 1 plus 0, that's 1. But whenever there is 1 plus 0, there is like an effect from 0 as well. Okay. But that is like a simple understanding. Okay. 3 plus 3 is 6, something like that. So if let's say you are a 24th born person, you'll be a 6. If you're a 28 on your 10, things like that, it adds up. Then angel number is basically you have to add your whole birth date. So let's say mine is 7th June 2000 or something like that. So if I add that, it comes to 6. Okay. So similarly, it would come something for you as well. And each number plays a role in telling, let's say, in saying what personalities or characteristics that particular person might have. So I'll give you a simple example. So people who are 7, let's say 7 number people are very spiritually inclined, let's take, believe in mystical things. Okay. And if I see myself, and my journey, without even wanting it or, running after it, it has already come to me. Okay. That is it. If we speak about one, like people who are number 1, they mostly want to be like, they end up in situations which make them leaders, or they're leaders basically. That is what it said. So if I add my name number, that comes to 1, Lakshya. Okay. So I have been in a lot of leadership positions. So that comes into play. Okay. And in a similar aspect, every number has its own, let's take like characteristics and things like that. Yeah. That's a simple knowledge around.
I'll tell you my problem with this logic, but I will not. I have no intention to offend anybody, and I have no intention to step on anybody's beliefs. My problem with this logic is that my being and my existence and my life and what things are going to happen to me are not man-made. These things are in existence, right? These things are in existence with the universe. But the numbers that we talk about, such as dates, let's say I was born 6 June 1994, the 1994 began from a 0 at the death of Christ, which we call AD. And then before that, there's the whole BC conversation. Technically, universe is 14 billion years ago, so we really don't know the date. The starting point of a year is arbitrary, starting off at some point Earth was in a particular location where we decided that's January 1st and that's when we'll start counting. Because of the arbitrary nature of it and because of the man-made aspect to dates, numbers, days, names, for example, you talk about Lakshya has a number associated with it, but Lakshya is something that you gained just a couple of years back. Before that, you were somebody else. So that then your name defines your complete existence, and your name, which is again arbitrary human-made concept, human-made sound, which was non-existent about 30,000 years ago, suddenly becomes very important to the way you exist and the way you behave. So I personally have a problem with man-made things defining natural phenomena. But world being defined in numbers is an absolute reality because we have calculations that define physics per se. Behavior, nature, where I will be, how man-made things will affect my life. I do not agree with numerology, especially since we do not know the initiation of our conversation. We are too ill-informed to actually judge these existences, in my opinion.
Same. But I'll just give you like a different tangent to it. So the man-made number that we're currently speaking about, so the numbers that comes with our, let's take, date of birth or things like that, okay, is, from what I understand, might be different in a Hindu calendar. There's something called as a Hindu calendar as well. So according to that, I'm not sure what currently year are we in or something like that. But a lot of aspects of numerology are also, let's take, affected by some parts of astrology as well. Like which cycle of moon were you born in? What, there are various things. I am not so aware of the whole science.
Again, the whole astrology aspect of it leads from the fact that it takes light X amount of time to actually travel from one planet to another. And stars take X amount of time to actually reach us. A lot of the light that we see now is older than the universe's age itself because of the expansion of the space. And we are now aware of these concepts. So when I was born, which location the star was in is so arbitrary because I am seeing the past all the time. I do not agree with astrology either. I'm telling you, I am a cynic. I am a very mean guy when it comes to these set of beliefs. I am a man of science.
Is there not to unravel? More than unravel, I think you're going to get two opinions which are very similar in a way and very different in a way, obviously. But if we get into exploring that, we're going to be sitting here for another 3 hours.
I agree. But I'll tell you what. So, from what I have understood, it's basically like majority of the things, if simplified, they come to vibrations only. Okay, majority of the things. Let it be the moon cycle, anything around that. Okay, it is all around the vibrational aspect of it. And if we study normal physics, anything that's moving can create vibrations and have sound, right? So with that concept being in play, if let's take someone questions me around, let's take anything religious, astrological, numerology, or anything around that, and if I have a very, let's say, distinct understanding of it, I try to relate it to the full vibrational aspect of it. So yeah, that's my take on the moon cycle part as well.
And here we are back to vibration.
We shall wait for string theory to be conclusive and proven so that we can actually discuss a lot of vibrations in the future. But for now, Laksh, we have a closing tradition on our podcast. The last founder has left you a question, and we would ask you to leave a question for the next founder. So the question we have for you is, running a company is a lonely job. How do you deal with the moments where you're alone? 3 things that get you pumped up and get you waking up the next morning to run the company again.
So yeah, running a company is definitely a very lonely job. Okay. 3 things that rejuvenate that energy in me is one, cherishing moments with my families and friends. So I've made a pact with myself at some amount of the day, I have to definitely spend it with family and friends no matter what. I have recently tried to learn how to celebrate small wins. So sometimes that takes a good, let's take a push to bring me back from that loneliness to, let's take, normal state. And third is accepting my emotions, understanding, let's take how I react to things, how things might affect me, and then actually taking things in hand and going ahead with proper decisions, structured decisions. So that's how. So the structured decisions is a very internal within part. So everyone should practice journaling, things like that. Okay. Even if you can't, just please sit with yourself, talk to yourself. That's the most easiest way to go about it. And yeah, so those are 3 things I would like to, tell. If you're in a lonely state, definitely most founders feel that. If you want to jump to the side of the door, that's how you.